people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. Lupita Medina. I want to become a superstar. Most valuable promotions have heavily invested in women's boxing over the last few years, an ever-expanding roster of elite female talent, the likes of Amanda Serrano, Mikaela Mayer, Chantel Cameron, and many others, are now part of that MVP family. The unbeaten Nicaraguan-American Lupita Medina is the latest fighter to hook up with the Jake Paul revolution on the female side of the sport. It was a beyond happy Medina I caught up with just a few days removed from the big announcement. I used to be with Tom Loeffler and 360 Promotions, Medina told me over Zoom. It was great when I was with him. They kept me active for the 2 years I was there. I had 4 fights per year, but MVP do have Kim Clavel and Yo Costavalle, who are world champions in my division. It makes making the fight with them a lot easier. Said it in a previous video. Up until recently, a good number of female fighters like Lupita were with Tom Loeffler, but Tom Loeffler seems to have gone all in as a point man for Dana White's Zuffa Boxing, so it looks a lot like he released his female fighters to go elsewhere, since I don't see Tom doing his 360 shows anymore. 2 of his female fighters in Iana Verduzco and Lupita Medina have both migrated to MVP. We are ranked number 2 by the IBF and WBO, Medina added. Ideally, I want to be fighting for the title by the end of this year or early next year. I do want the fight with Yo Costia because I think that is a fight Central America wants. Yo Costa's from Costa Rica and Lupita is Nicaraguan. Nicaragua versus Costa Rica. It would be better if I won a title with another organization and then we could meet up and unify. Kim Clavel, the IBF champion, is currently with child. What if the IBF made her a champion in recess, allowing Lupita to fight for the blue belt, and what if she were able to bring it to the Yo Costavalle fight? MVP recently announced their second visit to the UK, a card that will be headlined by Mikaela Mayer and Chantel Cameron, clashing in a massive unification showdown at Super Welter. Mayer and Cameron will fight for 3 belts at 154 in Birmingham. There is a possibility that Medina could be on that card. I've never set foot in the UK, so that would be great, Medina says. The theme of the show is the United Kingdom versus the United States, so if Lupita's gonna fight on that show, they've gotta find her a British girl to fight. A new base, new fans, that would be great to put my name out there. That would be awesome. The 22-year-old is unbeaten in 12 fights and her career is moving along at a brisk pace. Medina is more than happy with her progress so far. I feel great. I feel as though I have a fast-paced career at the moment. I am highly ranked, which says a lot. I haven't fought since November due to me trying to get my release and negotiations with different promoters. So this year has been a little slow, but now I'm with MVP. That will change. Things will pick up now. I haven't wasted that time. I've been trying to perfect a few things, although it would have been nice to have had a fight or two. She hasn't made her MVP debut yet. I suppose they could find her some ham and egger, some British journeywoman out there for that show, so she could make her MVP debut. Medina was perhaps always destined for a life in boxing. It was already enshrined in her family. My father was an amateur back in Nicaragua, Medina told me. He came over to America, and then they had my brother, so boxing has always been in the household. Every Saturday night, we used to watch the boxing on TV, teaching us about Alexis Arguello. We kind of grew up watching boxing. My brother picked it up first. I've always been daddy's girl. I saw how much my father loved boxing and how much he loved my brother doing it, so I wanted to do it because my father loved it so much. I have to love it too. He told me he did not want me to box. Being his only daughter, he said, "You can do anything you want," and that I didn't like this type of stuff because I was super girly, but I wanted to do it, and then when he said he didn't want to do it, that just made me want to do it even more. Having the double life, Medina added, when I asked what she specifically likes about boxing, that alter ego, having that switch. I'm definitely not a ruthless person or violent. I am the total opposite, but in the ring, I can become whoever I want to be. I am unapologetically me. I like having that double life.
The babyface assassin is on the brink of fighting for a world title. Medina is highly ranked at strawweight with Kim Clavel, the IBF champion, and Yo Costavalle, the WBC champion. Very much in her sights, but that is only the start of her ambitions. The sky is the limit. I want to accomplish as much as I can. I want to become undisputed at 105. I think I can do the same at 108. My main focus right now is to become a world champion. I could make history by becoming the first female world champion out of Nicaragua, but overall, I want to become a superstar and be known worldwide. That would be amazing.
She's only 22, and she's only 12-0. There's more work needs doing before she can approach a Yo Costavalle fight confidently that she can win, because at that weight, Yo Costa's a force to be reckoned with, and so is Kim, if she means to come back.
I like what I've seen so far from Lupita Medina, but she's only done what she's expected to do at 12-0. We'll see what else she can do as the competition becomes stiffer.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, Adrien Broner receives $400,000 check, and fans fear the worst.
Because he hasn't already hit rock bottom?
No, not yet. Adrien Broner casually revealed that a $398,000 check had landed from one of his old fights. Instead of celebrating, many fans immediately feared the worst. Broner made the admission during a recent live stream while discussing how money continues to arrive long after the final bell is sounded. Like, I can get a check from that right now, Broner said. You got a check for $398,000 from this fight? Asked fellow streamer.
Fans fear the worst.
Most of the reactions had little to do with the money. He's gonna drink it all and give it away, wrote one viewer. Another added he will probably blow all his money in the next week or so. Others questioned whether Broner was truly broke in the first place, while some wondered how long the latest windfall would last. The comments came after weeks of streams that have drawn concern from fellow fighters and fans. Ryan Garcia publicly urged Broner to stop drinking after watching clips.
The appeal of watching Adrien Broner in these live streams is a mixture of live-action comedy, because he's pretty funny when he wants to be, but also watching the train wreck, the disaster.
A lot of it is just Broner being drunk and being a sex pest.
Always has a drink in hand.
Every so often he finds time to make a pass at Dean the Great, who he seems to be attracted to.
People sit back and watch this shit?
The younger generation does, because for them, it's a live-action comedy. It's got all the appeal of a situation comedy, a sitcom, except it's happening in real time, so it has an air of spontaneity that a sitcom could never have.
Ryan Garcia publicly urged Broner to stop drinking after watching clips. Gervonta Davis went as far as making a wellness check. Broner has become a daily fixture on 24-hour broadcasts, alongside Dean the Great, often surrounded by alcohol, throwing around $100 bills, and living a lifestyle that seems a long way removed from training camp discipline.
Well, Adrien Broner never was disciplined. Even in his prime, at his peak, at the height of his popularity, and between fights, he was bloated.
He didn't all of a sudden grow that gut he's got overnight.
Broner doesn't really need boxing. A comeback has been discussed repeatedly, yet Broner just revealed six-figure payouts are still arriving from fights that happened years ago. The former four-weight world champion has been partying, tipping cash, surrounding himself with women, and embracing a live stream lifestyle that now generates almost as much attention as his boxing career. At least he's no longer flushing money down the toilet, in a manner of speaking. For many fans, the money was never the story. Broner was.
Broner still is, but imbibing in as many alcoholic beverages as he often does, cirrhosis of the liver is not far away.
Adrien might have found a momentary fix to stay a relevant public figure, in a manner of speaking, and with a younger generation, but what he's doing does not promote longevity.
It promotes degeneracy, which teens and tweens often gravitate towards, but Broner is no teen. He's no tween. He's a man in his mid to late 30s.
So how long is this circus going to go on? Perhaps as long as it takes for Adrien Broner to end up in the hospital from alcohol poisoning.
As long as it takes him to check into a rehab, who knows?
Men's super middleweight news, don't bet your house on Canelo because Christian Mabili will stop him. Christian Mabili's camp has warned Canelo that the WBC super middleweight champion is not heading into a potential fight looking to survive. Manager Camille Estephan has predicted Mabili would stop the Mexican superstar on September 12th. Estephan, who guides Mabili under the Eye of the Tiger banner, delivered the message publicly as the Canadian champion continues pushing towards the biggest fight of his career. Is it a foregone conclusion for you that Canelo beats Mabili? Estephan wrote, I have good advice to give you here. Don't bet your house on it. Mabili will stop Canelo. He added, it will be fireworks. Alvarez has been beaten before, but he's never been stopped, which makes the claim even bolder.
Canelo and Christian last boxed on the same show in September of the previous year. In that way, they're both coming off of long stints of inactivity. Canelo's got his reasons. He was recovering from elbow surgery, whereas Christian seems to have willfully sat out,
not taking any fights in between us to not jeopardize his shot at the big time. Camille Estephan's prediction is exactly what would be expected from a manager backing his fighter to the hilt, but there could be more behind it than routine promotional talk, as Alvarez heads towards the end of his long storied career with only a handful of fights potentially left before he walks away. Mabili is broken out as the WBC champion at exactly the right time. A dangerous fighter with power and skill now has to prove he belongs as a champion. Mabili made it clear to World Boxing News earlier this year that Alvarez was the fight he wanted after being elevated to full champion, saying he would love to fight him to show that I'm the best in the division, and adding, I want to prove it in the ring.
One thing Camille Estephan is already right about, even before the opening bell sounds, is that the fight has all the makings of what could be fireworks, because Christian Mabili is a very aggressive puncher, a busy fighter within a round, and Canelo is a talented counter-puncher, so he'll get all the countering opportunities he needs. The question is, can he still capitalize off those opportunities at 36 years old with well over 60 fights in his CV?
Back over to Christian. There will be doubts over Mabili's performance against Lester the Molester Martinez, that's a given. Their draw on the Canelo vs. Crawford undercard left unfinished business, but the reason Mabili did not accept the immediate and ordered WBC rematch is obvious. Little risk brought no reward, and holding off gave him the title outside the ring anyway. So if Mabili can defend against Canelo, Martinez is still there as a major rematch later down the line. Canelo is no easy task though, no matter how battle-worn.
I think behind the scenes, the only reason the World Boxing Council elected to elevate Mabili to full champion was because it was already decided that he would be fighting Canelo.
Consider that Virginia Fuchs, like Christian Mabili, was interim champion, but they didn't elevate her. Why'd they elevate Christian?
So that Canelo could fight him for the title, and so that hopefully Canelo could beat him for the title, because that's who the WBC really wants to hold their belt.
Before facing Martinez last September, Mabili told WBN he wanted the Canelo vs. Crawford winner, saying, if I get Canelo, that would be the best for sure, but if I get a vacant belt, that's good too. At the end of the day, I want the belts. He also said at that time, eventually, I will be inevitable. That line sounds very different now, with Mabili holding the WBC title and Alvarez moving closer. Alvarez remains the biggest name and the biggest payday available to Mabili, but the Canadian-based champion is not some overnight contender. Mabili has been calling for this level of fight, built his unbeaten record across almost a decade as a professional, and repeatedly argued that his position should be judged by what he does next, rather than how the title arrived. When Mabili welcomed a possible Canelo fight in February, he said, I've been in the pros for almost 9 years now, still unbeaten in 30 fights. Of course, I would have loved to win it with a victory, but it doesn't mean I don't deserve it. I can assure you I do. Estephan is always going to back his man to the hilt. Mabili just has to prove the words right when the bell goes.
As Christian says, the timing is perfect to beat Canelo Alvarez. And maybe it is.
Mabili acknowledged that Canelo remains dangerous, but believes the former undisputed champion is no longer operating at his peak. Of course, he started very young. I think when he was 16 years old, 15 years old. He's had a lot of fights now. I think his performance, he's going down, but he's still very dangerous. I think it's perfect timing for me to beat him, Mabili told Mr. Versace.
Canelo has shown signs of slowing down in recent outings against Terence Crawford, William Skull, Edgar Berlanga, and Jaime Munguia. The Mexican star fought well in the opening rounds before showing signs of fatigue as the bouts progressed.
That's according to the author of the article, but for me, it's a little hard to say that by itself is a sign of decline when Canelo Alvarez has always taken the mid-rounds off.
Always. I can remember him doing that as far back as 10 or 11 years ago. It's a part of the reason I thought Gennady Golovkin would beat him. I figured by the mid-rounds, Canelo's not going to be throwing as much and Gennady would take over.
It's just saying that Canelo Alvarez not throwing as much in the middle is nothing new, so I don't know if that by itself is a sign of decline.
The 35-year-old Canelo turned professional in 2005 and has fought many of the biggest names of his era across 4 weight classes. A victory over Mabili would add another world title to his record, while a defeat would mark the 4th loss of his career. Mabili said he's no intention of abandoning the aggressive style that helped elevate him to the top of the division.
Why would he? I tell you guys all the time, pressure fighters like Mabili don't change much from one fight to the next. All that changes is who they're fighting, but not how they're fighting.
So this could go one of 2 ways. Canelo Alvarez normally does well against pressure fighters like Christian Mabili because they stand in front of him swinging for the fences. Canelo doesn't have to work hard to find him. He's not going to run from Canelo like William Skull, like Jermell Charlo.
That is what Canelo has struggled with in the past. Movers. Taller guys who move away from him. Well, Christian's not going to move away. He's going to move towards him.
So Canelo will either capitalize off all the countering opportunities Christian presents him with, or he will become overwhelmed by Christian's persistence and durability. His volume, his age will show.
He won't be able to keep the counters coming long enough to not become overwhelmed and outworked by Christian Mabili, who says, I'm going to put more pressure, more combinations, and I'm going to work on my defense too, he added. Mabili has developed a reputation as one of boxing's most entertaining pressure fighters, recording 24 knockouts in 29 victories. Against Canelo, he appears set to rely on the same relentless approach that has carried him to the WBC title.
Whether or not any of that is going to work, your guess is as good as mine. It's conceivable that not having to chase the guy around, Canelo can get off his power shots much easier than he could against Crawford or Charlo or Skull.
Maybe that'll be enough for him to get the first knockout he's racked up since 2021? Maybe it won't. If he wins, he's back on the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list on the premise that he's already one of the most accomplished active boxers out there. All he needs is the title, the cherry on top, to qualify him, because in order to be on this list, you have to be an active champion, a reigning champion, and that's what he's missing.
If he wins, that would effectively prove that he's still got it in beating a bigger, younger, unbeaten fighter, unbeaten champion. Hell yeah.
He would re-emerge on the list, somewhere in the top 5, maybe as high as within the top 3. That would also put to bed the narrative that Terence Crawford beat a washed-up fighter, a shot fighter who doesn't have it anymore. If he goes in there and beats Christian, yeah, he still has it.
What do you mean washed up?
September can't get here fast enough for us to see what Canelo does or doesn't have left.